everyone. Welcome back to another edition of What's Happening Now with CNI Solutions. As always, remember to like, share, and comment on this broadcast, as there could be some information not only valuable to just yourself, but maybe perhaps to a family member or a friend. So, as always, remember, coming up, CNI Solutions, we have a lot of events happening. We do have our HBCU initiative. For those who are in the state of Alabama who go to a HBCU, this will be your chance to go ahead and start your entrepreneurship journey. There will be a free class given to you. It's going to be a 10-week course. You're going to receive a lot of great benefits if you sign up for this course, to include a $250 stipend at the end of the course to get you started with your business. You're going to get websites. You'll get professional headshots put together, and a whole host of a lot more. If you have any questions or anything in regards to this, please just go to our Facebook page. We have that information on our Facebook page, whereas you will be able to see everything that we have and that's going to be offering for those HBCU students. Also, tonight's broadcast is going to be brought to us by TNR Webs. Of course, at TNR Webs, they offer all of your website solutions. If you're needing a website, please get with TNR Webs, where they offer full web solutions that cover every aspect of establishing your online presence there, okay? So tonight in the studio with us, we have a special guest, someone I think is going to be very interesting to a lot of you all. We have here founder, Miss Jessica Barker of Lift Our Vote and Affluent Business Consulting. Miss Barker, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you this evening. Thank you for having me.
Great. So talk to us a little bit. You're a woman of many hats, and you have a lot going on, but let's talk a little bit about Lift Our Vote. Talk to me about this. What started this? Why did you create that?
So Lift Our Vote is a nonpartisan, I say multifaceted, community-focused civic engagement program that includes voter education and empowerment. Lift Our Vote, our whole purpose and mission is to create a culture of voting in marginalized communities. And why did I start that? Listen, I ran for office in 2018. I ran for State Board of Education, and I selected to run for that office. It's really interesting how I got to that, and I won't go into too much detail, but I was upset with the situation that happened at my child's school. And as I started researching, I felt like no one was really answering my question. No one was really helping us with this situation, which was racially tense. And so as I started looking at the education system here in the city of Huntsville, I realized that a lot of decisions go far beyond our city school board and are actually made at the State Board of Education level. And I, prior to 2018, did not even know that a State Board of Education even existed. And so when I ran for that office, it led me to finding out and discovering even more things that are affecting us in our own communities, such as the high rate of disengagement of African American voters, both young and old. And so as my team and I were campaigning for that seat and realizing how uneducated our community was when it came to not just politics, but the whole election cycle, the whole process of running for an office, of knowing who candidates are, we knew that we had to do something. And so even though, I'm sorry, go get your sister. I'm sorry, my son is running around. But even though we did not win that seat, we knew that we could not stop. And so from that, Lift Our Vote was founded, it was formed, and here we are today.
Hey, I tell you what, you said something that was very profound there, not knowing that there was a state board that was existed. How does the normal, everyday 9-to-5 person, how do we know these things? How do we get educated on these things? Because this is something that's not taught in school, so if it's not taught in school, where does one learn that there are these different seats that people get elected to?
Right. Listen, it was a whole journey for us to even learn. And there's a famous saying that says, if you don't want someone to know something, put it in a book. That's absolutely kind of what is happening when it comes to elections in the electoral process. So if you go and look at amendments and laws and bills and everything that governs our everyday life, it's legalese. It is a whole bunch of he said, thou art, this, that, they may. And so a lot of people get discouraged in trying to read and get that information, even though once you actually sit down and start reading it, dissecting it, and researching it, it's really not that difficult. But I think that it was intentionally set up that way to disengage a certain group of people.
Right, right. So, in your opinion, how many offices, or how many seats do you believe that are out there in each individual state throughout America that people don't know about exist, and people, the Black and brown communities, they don't even go out and vote for it because I never even heard of it. I didn't know that was a thing that you're supposed to do.
Yes. So listen, there are seats at city level, at state level, and at federal level. Oh, and I left off county level. So it's almost like we're always voting. There's always an opportunity to represent some district or area of your community. So at city level, most people only think about mayor. They may think about city council, but we have to realize that we vote for our sheriff, that runs our law enforcement. So there are so many seats, and it's almost hard to say there. I can't even say a number because there are so many, and it changes depending on what jurisdiction you're in, whether you live in the city limits or do you live in a county limit, so it really is just so much information out there that I honestly would say for anyone who may be interested in running for an office, look at what issue you really have, what are you really trying to change in your community, and try to figure out what seat correlates with that issue and go for it.
You mentioned something, anyone who's trying to run for a seat or an office in their community, that there's an issue that's affected them. And normally, even in entrepreneurial world, when we talk to our students about starting being an entrepreneur, you starting a business because there is some type of issue that affected you that made you say, hey, I'm going to start selling this, or I'm going to make these products because I can't find this. So I'm going to start making them because there's other people like me. So when you're dealing with someone and you're dealing with a county seat or city seat, and you say what issues affected them, how do you address the people who say, well, I don't have a problem with my city. I never had a problem with the sheriff. So why should I vote, or why should I even care? I'm okay. How do you address people like that who weren't affected by anything, so therefore they don't feel the need that there has to be a change?
I say we have a slogan actually with Lift Our Vote that says every issue is a voting issue. So from taxes to how much you are paid per hour, that's set by the Department of Labor, and by the State Department of Labor. So literally every decision that you wake up and make in life, the schools that your kids go to are ran by someone who you elect. So every issue truly is a voting issue. And as you are encountering things throughout your day that you are not satisfied with, as you are encountering people who were elected to represent you and you feel like they're not doing a good job, if you have trash on your street that's not being picked up, if you have a street light that is out, that the city is not coming to replace the bulb, like literally, it's just that small of an issue, but it literally, those decisions, those budgets are managed by someone that we elect. And if you don't show up and vote, guess what? You're still elected someone by not showing up and voting, because you're giving that to those who are showing up to exercise their right and their power at the ballot box.
Man, that is very powerful. You talked about when you had ran for the, I believe it was the education, was it the city?
State Board of Education.
State Board of Education. How was it disheartening to see that you couldn't get our community out there to do their part and vote, or did it just make you stronger and say, you know what, I know where my calling is at and I know what I need to do now?
So that's a good question. There's actually two answers to that. So one, with the State Board of Education that I ran for, it covered 5 counties across North Alabama. So I did not only campaign in Madison County, I had Jackson County, Etowah County, Madison County, parts of Lauderdale County, and I cannot remember for the life of me that 5th county, but it was 5 counties in Northeast Alabama. And so it was, most of those counties are not predominantly African American. So we had a battle ahead of us going into Scottsboro, going into Fort Payne, going into Gadsden, and those rural areas that outline all of those. So my team did an excellent job because the party that I was a candidate on that ticket, they did not think that we would be able to get enough attention to State Board of Education. They were like, that's a seat that nobody even knows about. Nobody pays attention to it. And we actually walked away with 45% of the vote as a first-time candidate across 5 counties, in which I'm only a resident and native of Madison County. So the team did an excellent job. That particular year on the ballot, there were no Democrats who actually won on that ballot. And so just looking at the numbers themselves, to get 45% of 5 different counties at that level, we did an outstanding job. But to go back to answering that second part of the question, so when we realized that there was a lot of disengagement in not just Black and brown communities, but in our poor rural areas, because like I said, we have Fort Payne and we had some very rural areas that we had to go into that were predominantly white. However, they were predominantly poor. And so it's seeing that it's not only us who are marginalized, but it's also those voices who are marginalized. It's the disabled community who doesn't really have access to getting to the polls. Those voices are marginalized. And so that's really what led me into what I now feel is my purpose and calling. So I am 100% so happy. Let me tell you, I'm so happy I did not win that seat. Let me say that again for the people. I am so happy I did not win that seat because it led me to doing something so greater than what I could have done just focusing on education. Also, I will say this to the people. I do not plan to ever run for a seat again. Do y'all hear me? That campaign trail was treacherous. I do not plan to ever run for a seat again. However, I now have the tools, the knowledge, the connections, the network, where when I identify someone that I feel is worthy of representing the community that I reside in, that I work in, that I play in, I now can make sure that that person has that opportunity to run and exercise their voice.
That is excellent. Hey, I love it. So Lift Our Vote isn't a standalone organization. It's actually attached to something else. Is that correct?
It is. So Lift Our Vote is actually like a campaign that is attached to Alabama Association for the Arts. Alabama Association for the Arts is an actual nonprofit that serves to transform communities through the arts, the culture, the civics, and creativity. And so with Alabama Association for the Arts, we really engage communities at a level far greater than just the vote and far greater than just civic engagement. We actually are able to go in and do food drives where we were able to serve over 20,000 pounds of food during COVID to 3 different counties across the state of Alabama. We have a transportation program in which on voter day, we're able to get voters to the polls who don't have transportation, and that's across the entire state of Alabama. We're also able to provide a summer camp every year in which we take in children between 5 and 15 at no cost whatsoever to the families. And we engage them for 3 days with community leaders who are in the creative arts sector of our communities. So we do a whole lot through Alabama Association for the Arts, and Lift Our Vote just happens to be our civic engagement arm.
I tell you what, I know there's a lot of families who want to know about this, because if they can get rid of those kids for just a 24 hours, like take mine.
That part.
I can think of 5 right now, and they're going to get signed up for next year. I already know they're getting signed up. But that is awesome that you guys are doing that, and this is things that people don't need to know about, because I didn't know that. That was there. I didn't know that Alabama, for the Arts was there helping the community like that. How, if somebody wants to help and support, how can they reach out and help with this?
So they can go to our website, Ala for Arts. That's ALAFORARTS.org. So alaforarts.org. They can connect with us there by filling out the contact us form. They can also call our office at 256-701-4182. I'll run that number back. It's 256-701-4182, and that line is manned. We say you can call us at any time, but we're gonna call you back during office hours, okay?
All right, all right. That is awesome. That is awesome. So let's talk a little bit about, as you like to call it, my bread and butter. Let's talk a little bit about the Affluent Business Consulting. What do you do with this? What happens here?
So Affluent Business Consulting, that's my baby. And like you said, that's my bread and butter. But that is my actual private consulting firm in which I lead a team of, it happens to be all women. I didn't do that by choice, but that's what God has brought my way. But we specialize in everything business wise. So from startup businesses to those who want to maintain their business, those who are looking to scale their business, and we offer a variety of services. We have a lady who specializes in, content, in copyright, patents, and trademarks. I have another young lady who focuses on administrative skills. I myself focus on finance and wealth management and fund management. So if you reach out to us, regardless of what your business needs are, we have someone on the team that can get her done. And if not, we have a wide network in which people like CNI Solutions, we add y'all to the network where we're able to refer you out, because another need that I have noticed in my community and why I started Affluent Business Consulting was African Americans will open a business and most of them fail within the first 3 years of business because they do not have the full business savvy to actually maintain their business. We have a lot of great ideas in our community. Black people have been inventors of ideas and equipment and supplies for generations since we came over here 400 plus years ago. And so, but once we put those ideas out there, we usually don't know what all it takes to navigate the system that's been set up to honestly keep us from being successful in the business world. And so we make sure that we consult people, we strategize with people to get them over whatever hurdles they may be experiencing as a Black business owner.
You know, you mentioned that, and that is, you're so right on that, you know, because even when we teach the entrepreneurial course and a lot of the students that come through and they graduate, there's so many things that they don't do right. And then they end up shutting the business down because one thing or another. And so we're always trying to inform them and make sure that, you know, they do the right things, you know, get the right equipment, get the right people involved. You know, I in fact, just recently, we were talking about this earlier. I have a student now that's looking to talk to somebody about patents because they're wanting to patent one of their ideas that they got. And I told them, so you need to do that like this and make sure you get with someone and speak on that. So that is important. And I think, you know, what you're doing is awesome because we do need it. And more people need to know that someone like you and your business and your consulting firm is out there helping other organizations, other businesses to make sure they're doing the right thing. Because way too often, small Black businesses try to do everything on their own. Yeah. And they try to self-educate and they try to be that legal person. They try to be that accountant person and they try to be everything that a business needs to be and end up doing it wrong. Like this. So getting that expert advice, you know, from an organization like yours is very, very important. And I commend you guys definitely on that. We definitely got a comment from somebody out there and basically saying kudos to the nonprofit for the incredible dedication to uplifting the community. Their impactful efforts are making a positive difference in the community. And that's important. Thank you there, my Veterans Place of Savannah, Georgia. That is important. And we need to continue to do that to help those in the community. And with that, in helping those in the community, and I've struggled with this, you know, as an organization, as a nonprofit, and just even as a person. How do you deal with the low to moderate income communities, the marginalized communities, and getting them to recognize what you're doing is important like this. And it takes the community to help you continue to do what you're doing. You know, even like with, you got a lot of organizations like my veterans place that this looks like they're helping veterans like this. It takes the community to help us to help those veterans. You know, how do you deal with those who are out there and they're not even doing anything and you can use their services like this? It's not always a monetary thing, but I just need a volunteer to help organize this. I need someone to help carry these cases of water for me. You know, how do you address things like that?
Yes. So we absolutely only can operate through partnership and collaboration. And we pride ourselves on saying there is no competition, only collaboration in our parts of the world. So we look for other organizations. And to me, it's not even always about what our organization is putting out there. We look for other organizations that are also putting out in the community and how can we serve you? Because that's really what it's about. Once you partner with other organizations who have a similar mission or purpose, which is serving the needs of the people, it's very easy to actually then serve the needs of the people. And I think another part of your question that you were asking me is how do you get people from the low income or the underserved communities involved? And I always say, if someone is hungry and you go talking to them about working, they're not going to listen. Why? Because they're hungry. So you have to actually go into these communities and you have to meet the actual needs. And with our organization, we don't only operate in the state of Alabama. We've been blessed to serve various parts of the nation. And we always, before we go in, whenever we're invited to go somewhere, we research that area. We talk to people. What are the needs? Is it food insecurity? Is it homelessness? Is it domestic violence? Like, what are the needs that you all are seeing? And then we always strategize a plan to meet that need. And while we're there meeting the need, then we're going to throw in that vote, because I don't go nowhere without telling the people about the vote.
I love when you said that, when you're trying to find out what is the need is, because way too often organizations or certain nonprofits, they deem what they want to give to the community. And if you're going to the community and giving them a whole bunch of socks, they're like, what do you give us socks for? We didn't need socks. What we need is mittens and gloves. That's what we need. So that's one of the things that CNI Solutions always tries to do when we're out in the community and we're doing our lunch and learns. We're asking them, hey guys, what is it that y'all need? Because I don't want to give you something that you don't need. I don't want to give you what I think you need. I want to give you what you're telling me you need. Like this. So that's when we come up with that whole financial literacy for teens. A lot of them says, no, my child needs education on finances, on how to manage money, because they don't know how to keep it. So we develop a curriculum for financial literacy specifically designed to target those 13 and 19-year-olds to help them understand finance and how to maintain and how to have savings and SMART goals. So it's always about what the community needs and not what you want to give them. And if we come across something where their need is something that CNI Solutions cannot meet directly, so it goes right what you just said and what my veterans place just said in the chat, collaboration. We collaborate with somebody else that we can help give that need to those individuals, to that community, and that's what's important. And I think a lot of times some nonprofits miss that mark. They're not seeing that part. They're not seeing that part. So we try to be that boots on the ground, that in the trenches, grassroots, and get a feel for what our community wants so that we can help them with that. So I think you hit that right on the head there. I mean, I love that.
Yes, sir. Listen, I know I saw all about what you all did with braiding the hair and offering services like that for the kids back to school. And honestly, I mean, that truly is what it is about. The kids were going back to school. Everybody does book bag giveaways. You know what I'm saying? Everybody does school supply giveaways. And so I think for CNI Solutions to put that spin on, hey, there are a lot of kids who their moms can't afford for them to go to the shop and get their hair braided. There's a lot of guys who can't just go to a barber barbershop, or their parents don't have time to take them, you know. And so I think that kudos to y'all for that, because the city showed up. I saw pictures. I had people inboxing me, emailing me. City showed up. So kudos to y'all for understanding the true mission of community service.
Yes, man. We appreciate that. We love doing what we do. We love helping our community. We love helping the kids. And that was a need that the community said they had. That was a need that they said, like, you know, I just can't do it. You know, I can't do school clothes and shoes and then plus get a hair done, especially for young ladies. You know, young ladies going to a hairdresser, we all know what that cost is. We all know what that cost is, and that's hard. And that is very hard. So we try to make sure we gave the community what they need the best way that we can. We collaborated with Hair Queen and worked together, them and Cutting Them Up Beauty Supply, with a lot of things that they gave, and all the wonderful braiders and barbers who volunteered their services. I tell you what, those guys was phenomenal. I cannot stop talking about them enough. You know, I really can't. They have really done their part. You know, we got another statement here from our Veterans Place. It says it's essential to provide assistance to those in need, but equally important to understand their unique situation and preference. Yes. Tailoring support to their specific needs ensures a more meaningful and effective impact. Hey, my Veterans Place, I tell you what, you guys hit that right on the head. That is exactly right. That is exactly right. We need more thinkers like that to help the community. And if we do get that, can you imagine the strength that we can have as one? The things that we can get done together. You know, the things that we could pull off, we're stronger in numbers. And I think when more of the organizations that are out there are seeing that we can do better, because I tell everybody, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. You know, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I want if your organization is already doing that, then cool. Let's collaborate together and do that, because it's not a fight against me, against you. It's a fight to help our community. Let's help our community the best way we can. You know, so I definitely appreciate that. Another comment here, Ms. Pamela, she says, kudos to Seeing Out Solutions on the yearly Braidathon. We appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. You know, we do try our best, and we do try to support what we can out there. So, Jessica, you have some events coming up, some important dates, I should say, that are going to be coming up. You want to address those or talk about those?
Absolutely. So September 15th, these are these kind of dates that the community usually doesn't even know about, but you can Google me on this. So September 15th is actually National Black Voter Day. What is that, you ask? It's a day that was actually started by the National Urban League that puts a highlight and a focus on Black voters across the nation. It's a day that they call for other organizations to galvanize and do whatever action or activity they can to uplift the Black vote. And so on that day here in Huntsville, we will actually be doing an event at Club 47 at 1914 Jordan Lane. So at 7 p.m., we're going to have a Lift Our Vote lounge mixer. So you all can come out, you can meet the Lift Our Vote team, you can ask us questions, talk to us. And then that night, when the club usually turns up, we're going to have our Pretty Rocks the Vote team there. And Pretty Rocks the Vote, if you look at the initials, it's PRTV, and that's exactly what that team does. Those are some women they're beautiful, and you know, beauty comes in every shape, size, color. And so they actually serve through Lift Our Vote as the Pretty Rocks the Vote team. They run up on you with the camera, they'll do an interview, they'll ask you, do you know about voting? And that's how we really start talking to people in our community. So I say, if you all are not doing anything on Friday, September 15th, show up to 47 Bar and Grill. That's where we will be. We're going to have our red carpet out so you all can show up, get your little pictures on, and we're going to have a full night of engagement. But we're also going to do our voter verification. So we'll have a table set up where people who have an interest in running for an office, who are interested in knowing when the next time we vote, who are interested in anything vote related, will be there to serve those questions. And also, we focus on restorative voting, which is the process that one who is formerly incarcerated has to take to restore their rights. Oftentimes, people who are arrested in our community, and you have to really look at the words I'm using. So people who are arrested in our community oftentimes get the thought that they can no longer vote because they were arrested or because they went to jail. And that is far from the truth. There actually most people never even lost their right to vote. And so we serve that community. We have a special focus on that community, and we have a team of voter specialists who have done some additional training, who have gone to policy school to make sure they are able to serve that community. And for those who actually have lost their right to vote and are eligible to recertify, we have a team that is prepared with lawyers and everything to process those persons through the Board of Pardons and Paroles to restore their right to vote. So when I say we about that business, we about that business. So y'all come pull up on us on September 15th at 47 Bar and Grill for National Black Voter Day. And then the next date is September 19th. That's only 4 days after. But September 19th, we will actually be in Hale County, Alabama, specifically New Bern, Alabama, at the New Bern Public Library. So you may be like, where is New Bern, Alabama? It is in West Alabama. It is a city that has less than 300 residents, but 80% of those residents are African American. And when I tell you that they do not even know the last time that they held elections, they don't understand the voting process. And so we have connected with some residents there, and we are going down to New Bern, Alabama on September 19th, which is National Voter Registration Day. And we're going to make sure that as many people from that community and those surrounding communities have all of the tools and resources and education that they need so that our next elections, which come up in 2024, they'll be prepared to exercise and lift their vote.
So you mentioned National Black Voters, is it Registration Day?
National Black Voter Day is on the 15th.
So I myself never heard of that. I haven't. This is the very first time I've actually heard of this. And I don't know if any of the viewers out there who are watching it, if y'all heard of it, hey, put it in the chat and let me know, because I have not heard of this before. And I hear what you're doing in the Huntsville area for this on that day. Will other communities, other states, are they doing anything do you know of? Or is there an organization, let's just say in Texas or Georgia, that they may be doing something on that day? Because this is really news to me. I did not know such a thing existed.
Yes, and it is actually other states. I know DC has something going on. Atlanta, Georgia will have some things going on. And I want to say you can go to the National Urban League's website. I don't know their website right off, but if you go to National Urban League, or if you Google National Black Voter Day, it will actually pull up some of the events in a website where you can connect with events across the nation.
Hey, folks, viewers, those who are watching this, please take time to share this broadcast with others and send this information out, because I tell you what, Ms. Barker is giving us some gems tonight that I think a lot of people need to know about. We need to get this information out there. We need to make sure that the people in the community are aware of this, that they know what's going on, so that they can be educated, because that is the main thing here when we start talking about voting and dealing with this. It's the education part of it. You know, here just within this last 30 minutes, you educated me on something that I never knew about. You know, and it has, as we like to say, I'm a grown man. I done been around, but apparently I haven't been around long enough, because that's interesting to know. And when I say if I didn't know, surely I bet there's several others out there who didn't know as well. So that is very, very interesting. I'm glad that you brought that up, and I'm glad that we got people who are willing to share this and make that aware, because the more that we educate ourselves on things, the better we are. I always tell everybody in the entrepreneur course, when they're ready to start their business and everyone's like, oh, I just don't know, Charles. I don't know. I'm scared. I said, well, here's what you do. Mitigate the fear. Mitigate what it is that you're scared of. Like this, if it's the finances, mitigate how you can get finances. If it's the opening up the business, mitigate how we're going to do that. And once you understand that, there's no fear. Then you just go ahead and do what you need to do. So I think with the voting thing, people are scared, especially people are scared to even ask a question like, is this the right place I'm supposed to be at? Or am I supposed to be here today to do this? So nobody wants to ask those questions, But the more that we can educate our community on things and events and days like the 15th and what's happening in the 19th, I think the better turnout that we can get when it comes down to getting down to the polls and understanding when we need to be voting, who we need to be voting on. And then also, I think it's important that we educate the people on what the elected seats mean, and I think that's important as well, because way too often in our community, everyone only thinks about president. And they don't think about none of those people who are running for Congress and all those representative seats, Congress seats. They're not thinking about your state reps and stuff, what they represent. No one's looking at that. And I think the more they're educated on that, the better they will have. They'd be better equipped to go ahead and make those votes and make those informed decisions. So, man, you really said a lot there, and trust me, I appreciate that. I really do.
Thank you.
I honestly appreciate that, and I hope there are people out there who are viewing this, people who are sharing this live with other people, that they take in this information and use it as well.
Yeah. Listen, it's serious. Like, the things that we are seeing happening right now when it comes to legislation, it's really going to set us back prior to 1965 when the Voting Rights Act was passed. And so I think that our disengagement, our disinterest in the electoral process, and of course, when you turn on CNN and Fox News and you see the shenanigans that are going on right now, you're like, yeah, this is all just a front, it's a show. But let me tell you, it's a distraction. Because meanwhile, they're in the background, your legislative representatives, your legislators, they're still working. And so when you don't pay attention and you go to sleep and you're not woke no more, then that's when a lot of these bills and laws are passed. And then you wake up and you're like, oh my God, how did this happen? Why can I no longer go and vote? How did they rebuke my ID? Like, there are so many things that are happening that we have to stay connected. We have to pay attention. So I always say, go to liftourvote.com, stay connected there. We try to make sure that we keep information up to date there on our social media page at Lift Our Vote. We try to keep information posted on there when there's breaking news and things happening. I know right now in the state of Alabama, my son just really wants to be on camera. I know right now in the state of Alabama, we've been going through a redistricting process where the legislators have the opportunity to redraw the lines of the districts that determine where you can vote. And so what is actually going on with that is Alabama, according to law, as it currently stands, has a right to draw maps according to the racial population. And so the U.S. Supreme Court in July determined that there were not enough districts in the state of Alabama to represent the African American population. You following me? The U.S. Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, made a determination and a ruling and a decision that the state of Alabama needed to redraw their maps to allow for one additional district in a community of color. But guess what our state legislators did? Said, we don't care nothing about what that U.S. Supreme Court says. We're not doing it. And do you know that they stood on that state floor and they refused to pass through another map? And so right now there's appeals being done and they're reprocessing that decision and everything. But that is what I say when I say your vote truly matters, because yes, we don't vote for the U.S. Supreme Court justices. And we know once they get their seat, they have their seat until they die, which I wish to God that wasn't what it is, but that's what our Constitution set up. So we got to abide by it. But what we do vote for is our state legislators. And our state legislators clearly looked at the voting bloc in Alabama and said, Black voters, your voice is not good enough. We are not going to make sure that you all are able to represent a voice that truly represents your needs in your own community. And for me, that's a problem. So we really have to start looking at politics far beyond what's going on at a national level and what's going on with the presidents and the former presidents. And we really have to start paying attention to what's going on in our own backyard.
I think one of the comments made, it says voting is a powerful tool to express our opinions and shape the future we want to see. And my veterans place said that. So do you feel, and I can go on all day on that, and you're starting to get me heated now because I'm getting in my zone. Do you think that we as a community don't have any more representation for us, i.e. the Martin Luther Kings, the Malcolm X's? You know, when we had those people who were taking that charge, do you think that has affected our community so to the point where everyone's just kind of like hands off and just letting it go because there's no one to believe in and there's no one to trust and there's no one to follow?
And that's what it is. Our communities have become so disengaged from each other that we no longer trust one another. We don't trust the opinion. So there are voices that are very strong in our community who are willing to advocate for our communities, but our communities have been beat up through this whole political system so many times that they feel like they can't trust anyone. And so if you look at the civil rights movement of the 60s, and how they followed those strong leaders, it was because during those times, the family unit was still intact. You know, the welfare system hadn't hit us hard yet, where they've stripped the man out of the home and away from the family, you know, and there's so many societal factors that go into play between the 60s and what we have today. Technology and our access to information and social media and our access to disinformation and misinformation also plays a critical key role in our distrust for those who stand up to say they want to represent us. So I think that what it really is going to take is not necessarily one strong voice anymore, but is going to take several communities banding together and saying we're going to stand up in number and say this is what we want to see for our communities collectively, and this is what we are going to say we are not going to tolerate as a representative of our community.
All right. We have a question from one of the viewers for you. Ms. Pamela says, is there anything Black voters can do to counteract what seems like the plan to erase Black history?
Listen, so my opinion is not always the popular opinion when it comes to this. In Black and white communities, I get a talk back from both sides, but I say that that's why it's imperative that we do our own. We have our own schools, we teach our own children, we have our own gatherings, and we make sure that we are uplifting our own culture, that we are sharing those stories. Because if you look at the generations, the further and further that we get from 1619, when that initial recorded slave ship actually came to America, the further and further we get from that, the more and more we are losing who we are as a people, who we are as a culture, who we are as a community. And I say we can't keep depending on the oppressor who's trying to oppress us to give us that information. So yes, they're stripping it out of public schools. Yes, they're making it not readily available on social media. They're taking down pages and suppressing pages of people who post that information. But that's why it is on us as our own community to make sure that we are uplifting and we are passing that information on. Our grandmas, our great grandmas, they didn't look for us to get it at school. They sat us down in front of them and they shared those stories with us. And we have to continue doing that. We have to get away from always being in front of the TV and on social media. And we have to start back connecting within our churches, within our homes, over the dinner table, inviting other families over. That's really where the change and the preservation of our history is going to come in.
So you got another question that says, do you think organizations like the NAACP, Links, the Urban League have any relevancy in our communities anymore?
Ooh, Miss Pam, you hitting us with some questions, hunty. Listen, so they have relevancy because they have name recognition. I think that people are more apt to trust organizations like that have that longevity. However, I'm going to be 100% honest because that's the only way I know how to be. I feel that their agendas and the work that they do on a grassroots level, boots on the ground in our community, they have kind of gotten away from. because these larger organizations have amassed the status and the funding that they have amassed. I think that sometimes it gets easy to become disconnected from the actual need in the communities. And so while I think that they are very relevant in our communities, I see a lot of space where they can actually be a little more impactful in our communities.
Okay. All right. Hey, I tell you what, sometimes I think about that. And I do. I think about that. And she says, she makes a good point, the relevancy like this. But not only that, though, I think the bigger question is, how many of our youth even know these organizations?
Very
Do
true.
they know about, the Urban League and Links and NAACP? Like this, I would be, I would be surprised if they even know about those. So
Very
I think that's an important thing. And it goes right back to what you said. Stop depending on the schools to educate our children. And we need to start sitting them down on Saturdays, the weekend, and talk about things that how it used to be and what we went through and how we had to overcome this and things that we had to do to make things right for our community. And I think that's important that we do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Got another question here. Oh, man, she on a roll here tonight. What do you think can be done to motivate today's young people, say 30 and younger, to feel a sense of community or rather pride in the community? Upliftment through education, building a generational wealth through, in fact, family structures. So I tell you what, before you jump on that long one, I'm going to say this in my opinion on that, and then you can give me yours. It takes trust. It's going to take trust for the youth in the community to make that change. So no matter how powerful you may be, if they don't trust you, if they don't, and when I say trust you, I mean they have to see the things that you're doing in the community for them. Like, okay, I trust him. I trust he's going to make the right decision. I've actually been asked a couple times, why don't you run for city council, Charles? Like this, and I'm like, me, city council? They ain't ready for that yet. But it builds on trust, and I think as long as they have positive role models who they trust, and those role models are doing the right things, I think that's what get them to come around and make those change. I am one of the few people who will talk to the youth when I see something or I see a trend that they're doing that is just super inappropriate, and I ask the question, why is it you're doing this? I just want to know. I'm trying to understand why you're doing it. You're doing it because Antoine and Daryl and all of them are doing it, or are you doing it because this is who you are? So I try to understand that, and I think that trust factor is going to be a big one. But go ahead, Jessica. Go ahead and give us your opinion for her.
Man, you just gave us a whole word right there. I mean, it's hard to add on to that. But I love what you said about the trust. A lot of young people, they don't really trust, older people in their community. There is a lack of respect for authority that we are seeing overwhelmingly as the generations get younger and younger. So I myself, I'm still in my 30s. I'm kissing goodbye to 30s, but I'm still technically in my 30s. And so to answer that question about how to really get that younger community engaged and involved, I would say meeting them where they are. Just like a poor person, a hungry person, you have to meet them where they are. We know right now they're on social media, right? So trying to make sure that you get that information to them on social media. But I see a lot of organizations fail because they type this long post or they post a picture. These kids are moving on social media. They dancing, TikTok, and all of that. So we have to get creative in how we're meeting our younger community. Our younger generation is a microwave community. They're used to instant gratification, instant reply, instant status. And so we have to get a little faster in how we get this information to them. They're not going to sit through no hour-long discussion like we did. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You got about 3 minutes to capture their attention and hit them hard. So I think that we have to be mindful on how we engage our younger people. And I also say that through so a lot of younger Black people, 25 through 45, actually are accumulating wealth a lot faster than our mothers and our grandmothers and grandfathers were able to do. And so I think that what we are seeing is a generation, and they refer to the generation as a woke generation, but with also that access to technology and social media, it's a more conscious generation. And I think that when you can engage these younger people on issues that truly impact them, so for instance, student loan debt for our college students, for our new voters, really talking to them about careers and opportunities to actually make a good dollar in an economy that's set up to say you can't make more than minimum wage. I think that by really engaging our young people on the issues that truly impact them, is how we can get them interested. I know with our organization, with Alabama Association for the Arts, um, even though voting age is 18 and up in the state of Alabama, we actually start as young as 5, as I stated, with our summer camps and everything. And we teach them how to organize in their community. We teach them a respect for a community. We teach them how to serve in our community. That way, we're keeping them engaged. We're teaching them about this political system and things that will impact them. That way, by the time they're 18, they're ready to hit it. We got candidates trained. We got people that understand social justice. And so I think that those are ways that we can really engage our youth and keep them engaged.
We got so many questions here. One of them says, are you familiar with Assata Shakur's quote, "Nobody in the world, nobody in history has ever gotten their freedom by appealing to the moral sense of the people who were opposing? And if so, how do you feel about modern day Black Panther Party?"
So, as I mentioned a little earlier, we can't look to our oppressor to be our savior. I say that all the time. And so, while I can't really state on specifically a current Black Panther Party, because I really don't know what that would look like, and if that would truly be the exact same as our former Black Panther Party. But what I can say is, again, we have to start making sure that we're galvanizing within our own communities, that we are coming together. So whether it's under a certain party name, or whether it's just under an organization name, or however we want to do it, I think that it's going to be about collaboration and really coming together. Now, when it comes to actual political parties, of course, the state of Alabama is a two-party system. Either you're Democrat or you're Republican. Even though you have the option to be an independent in the state of Alabama, those voices usually don't make it far or anywhere at all. But I stand now as an independent, and I pride myself on being able to make the best decision for myself, my family, and my community, regardless of party and political affiliation. And so when it comes to like the Black Panther Party, I think that as long as you are connecting with another organization or another entity that is like-minded in what you need for your community, then I say that's what needs to be done to make sure we're able to push forth what we need to see in our own communities.
Yeah, that is outstanding. We got another, I guess, a statement here from My Veterans Place, Savannah, says, "We should have active listening, showing genuine empathy and understanding their experiences, and consistently supporting their aspirations. Creating a safe space and fostering open dialogue can help establish a foundation of trust and mutual respect." I think that was going towards the youth in the community, and how can we get that change? And I tell you what, I think My Veterans Place hit that right on the head. You know, creating that safe space is important. Creating that safe space for where they feel they can talk and not be judged. Creating that safe space where they feel like, hey, here I'm allowed to say something and not be punished. You know, and I think that's important because too many children and young people feel like, I can't say this, I can't say that, and because my mom or dad or grandpa or grandmother was going to get on me because I'm not supposed to think that way. I'm not supposed to say that. But that's how you build that trust in that relationship. And then you can get them to actually start seeing the wrong in what they were saying and why they were saying it, and stop saying things that way. So yeah, you bring up a good point there. I love that. I love the comments. I love everything. I tell you what, we can go on and on tonight, ladies and gentlemen, but We have really pushed the bandwidth tonight. I think Miss Barker has been doing excellent. Here's another comment in here we got from Mr. Prescott. It says we have to meet the youth where they are. Yes, you are right there. Educate the youth to show them a different way. And that is important. That education and showing them a different way is very, very important. I agree with you there. I agree with you there on that. This has been awesome. I tell you what, it's been awesome. I wasn't expecting this, but it has been awesome, Jessica. I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing with Affluent Business and Counseling. We're definitely going to have to link up because I'm going to need you with CNI Solutions and some of our entrepreneurial courses to be that role model and for them to be able to get your services. We're going to have to work together with the arts because I'm working with children as well. So we're trying to get them out there. So there's so many things that our two organizations can work together and collaborate on. And I look forward in doing that with you and making things better.
Listen, I was going to tell you, because I need CNI Solutions to help us with that financial literacy for some of our young people. I know I need to sign my 18-year-old up ASAP. So you let me know when you have the next one.
We're definitely having that next one. I think I'm scheduled to do the big one in October because I got a big group that's going to be coming through. So I can put them all in there. The more, the merrier. Because believe it or not, you would be amazed of how much some of these youth do know when it comes to financial literacy and finances and how they're able to help each other out on certain things. So since I have been doing these classes, the youth has been really, they've also showed me some things as well, that they already know like this, but we're definitely going to have to get your 18-year-olds squared away on that because we don't want he or she moving out and getting on their own. And next thing you know, they're already turning into predatory lending and going into that. And we don't want that. So we definitely want to get them taken care of. Hey, anything you would like to say before we go ahead and close?
Listen, like I said, every issue is a voting issue. Make sure that you know when and where you're supposed to show up next time there is a ballot issued. Okay, so you can go to liftourvote.com and you can click on check my status. Less than 30 seconds, you can find out when your next election is and you can find out where your polling location is. So y'all make sure y'all go check out that resource and make sure you stay connected with us.
Outstanding. Hey, I tell you what, we are definitely grateful to have Miss Jessica here tonight with us. She has given us a lot of good information. Those who are viewing, please make sure you take time to share this broadcast with others because I tell you what, I'm even going to share it and I'm on the broadcast. I'm going to make sure that we get this thing out because the information that was provided tonight with the wonderful abundance of questions from the viewers, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate your questions. Hopefully we answered those and gave you our best honest opinion for the community. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Until then, always remember your yesterday is not your today and your today is not your tomorrow. Good night.